Hi, my name is Makasy, and today we're going to talk about neck tags. So, there's a lot of tags on clothing. So, there's neck tag, there's wash tag, there's hashtag, all of these are actually very important. And I have another video coming up about like the wash tags, if you guys are interested. I mean, even if you're not, I'm still gonna make it because the script is already written. So we'll continue on with that. So when you and I go into like retailers such as Saks, Nordstrom, Selfridge, Harrods, all of these things, the neck tag is one of the first things that you look at. Generally, there's like a paper tag like show you all the detail, like the price, the brand, like the material, stuff like that. It's one of the first things that consumers see, so it has to show the consumer like the vision that this brand is trying to like tell us, the lifestyle, the brand identity, and the story you're trying to tell. If you're a minimalist brand, like your neck tag shouldn't be crazy with crazy colors, stuff like that. It should be minimal. It should convey the tone and like the brand ethos into this little neck tag. Most of the neck tag is just simply the logo. Let me pull up some example right now for you. Then some company, they also add the city where it's from. And then another example is that some companies, some brands, they also do the name and then like the size tag beneath it. Then there are some company that does it correctly. Like it shows you like it has the name and the logo of the company, it has the season, it has the name of the collection, and then it has the year of the collection. Like that's when it's right. So we're gonna look at a few brands later in the video. We're gonna analyze a few of them and generally just have a conversation about it, about this tiny little tag that has like such a major impact on like the consumer experience that I'm making at least like 2-3 videos about it. So first we're gonna talk about the placement of the neck tag. So generally, like 99% of the time, the neck tag is simply on the inside of the neck tag of the neck area. I'll show you an example right now. So what I want to talk about right now is when designer decide to put the neck tag on the outside of the garment. So one of the examples that I remember when I was a hypebeast and I was a sneakerhead was Fear of God. I think it was like collection 3 when they did the neck tag on the back. So I thought it was really cool. It was really innovative. And I thought it was really cool. And then Vetements also did the same thing or did similar thing. They put the neck tag in the back and then they make them bigger as well. And I'm sure there has been other brand that has done this, but to my recollection at the moment, just these are the 2 brands that I remember. So Vetements and Fear of God. Another thing is that they put the neck tag on the sleeve. So one of the they put it right here or right here on the left side. What comes to my mind right now is the Gucci blazer. Like I think it was like last year or this year, like they decided to release some blazer and then they put the neck tag on the sleeve, which is like it's a nice touch. And Raf Simons also did something similar, but he didn't use his actual neck tag logo. He used like one of his newer ones, which is this right here. And the reason I don't count this as well because like he still has the neck tag where the neck tag is, but with the Gucci blazer, like Alexander McKelly decided to move it onto the sleeve altogether. So I count that one, not the Raf Simons ones. Okay, so another thing is some designers they like to do like reversible garment, and when you're making reversible garment, you can't have the neck tag on the neck on the inside of the neck because when you're wearing it in reverse, it will show. Like this is when the designer try to hide it as much as possible. So I have 3 examples for you. First, we're gonna look at my Hyder Ackerman jacket, which is a reversible. It doesn't say reversible, but I wear it reversible because it's doable because they actually Hyder Ackerman and the team, they put the neck tag inside the pockets, which I will show you right now. So another garment that is also reversible in my closet is this J.W. Anderson and Uniqlo collab, which is this trench coat you're seeing on the screen right now, and it is reversible. And it's advertised as so. So how they got around the neck tag thing, the neck tag dilemma, instead of a neck tag, they just remove that altogether and they just put their branding and logo on one of the inner pockets. So then when you wear it in reverse, it just say J.W. Anderson. And then for the information dump, they put it inside the pocket. So that's where you're gonna see it. So you can wear it reversible without the neck tag showing. Once again, this whole video is mainly about high fashion neck tag, not like fast fashion. I have a small segment about it in a bit, so we'll look into that in a second. So this is the part where I am going to show you one terrible neck tag and then one good one. So let's start with the bad, because as a human being, we love bad news. This is why news exists. And once again, this whole video is mainly my opinion. Like it's what I like, so this is mainly my opinion. Don't take it too hard if I bash your favorite brand neck tag. However, If you want to participate, you can comment down below in the comment section and I will ignore it because this is my channel and my voice is more important than yours. Right now, I would like to provide you with just the criteria as to how I would judge the neck tag, and this is just a little bit and I'll get into it deeper later on. So first one is the font, second one is the color of the logo and the color of the backdrop, the third one is spacing, the fourth one is the amount of information, the fifth one is cleanliness, and then the sixth or seventh is security. So this next point isn't really one of the criteria to judge a neck tag, but it's just something that we should all keep in mind, which is that a good neck tag, it should somewhat continue to tell the story and or the lifestyle or the vision that the fashion house is trying to tell us through the clothing. It's like how when we go out to eat in a restaurant, right? So the cleanliness of the bathroom, it's not the main thing that we're going to the restaurant for, but if the restaurant has really clean bathrooms, it will add to the whole eating out experience. So first up, which is the terrible neck tag, which belongs to Moncler. So let's look at it real quick. I'll put it up on the screen right now, and a typical Moncler neck tag looks like this. So let's break it down as to why I dislike this neck tag so badly. So first, the font. The Moncler letters. The font that they use is called Fritz Quadrants. I personally don't like it. It looks a bit childish to me. It doesn't scream like fashion house. Even though I know that Moncler is first and foremost an outerwear brand, but what they've been doing with Moncler Genius, how they position themselves with pricing and marketing, they're a high fashion company now. Anyway, but yeah, the font, I don't really like it. I'm gonna make a video later about font. Like, I really enjoy talking about font, and there's a lot going on with font, and it's fascinating to me. So I would like to share that with you one day, because companies spend thousands of dollars just like picking font. Like, when you're picking a font, it's not just about the font itself. There's a psychological effects behind each font. This is just one of those things where like we don't really pay attention to it, but if it's wrong, we're gonna be able to tell. If it's right, we won't notice it. All right, so next up, the color. So blue on white, I am not a big fan, you know. So there is a time and place to go against the establishment, but this is not one of those times. Like black and white or white on black, it's just the classic. It's timeless. If you put the Moncler neck tag next to like a good neck tag, you can tell that this is wrong. So let's do that right now. Next up, so on the tag itself, it says Moncler at the bottom, blue font, like gross. And then the top thing is the emblem, and the emblem is just a letter M standing for Moncler, and then the two weird thing that you're seeing and you think like, oh shit, that looks like a chicken. It is a chicken because apparently the chicken is a national symbol of France, and the chicken that Moncler decided to use is called a Gaelic rooster. I don't know about you, but for me personally, chicken doesn't really scream high fashion. So I think you can change that, you know, like we've seen Hedi Slimane, like he changed so many logo and names. So like, it's okay to change like your logo, your emblem. You can remove it all together and just say Moncler on. All right, so spacing. I do not like this at all. It's poorly spaced out. So it's not symmetrical at all. Let me put up the line right now so you can see. Like, so they wanted to have the emblem and the logo on it. So they compromise, which means that the logo is not in the middle, the emblem is not in the middle. The line of symmetry is between those two, so like it doesn't look right. So when you ignore the emblem and just look at the logo, it doesn't look right. When you ignore the logo and just look at the emblem, it doesn't look right because the line of symmetry is between them. All right, so next up, let's look at the amount of information. So, you know, you would think that with such a backdrop, they would provide you with more like information, but the backdrop is so big. The logo is so small, the emblem is so small, they have so much space. The amount of information with such a large backdrop, it's so lacking. And then you see so much more of the backdrop, more so than the logo and the emblem. Use those space, you have it. Security is like how secure it is, like whether it's gonna come off after a couple wears, how many stitches it is. So I do appreciate that it's stitched out completely, like all throughout all the rectangle, so it's good. So my rating for this tag is 1 out of 10, and really the only reason I got 1 is because of the security aspect. Alright, so now we're gonna get to a good example of a neck tag, and I think you guys are already predicting it, which is the Rick Owens. I really like the Rick Owens tags, and I understand that I always talk about Rick Owens, but it's one of my favorites, and one of the reasons why I love it so much is because of the tags. It tells you so much that you need to know. These are all important. These are all necessary information. But let me jump ahead. So let's go through one by one. So Rick Owen, he put his brand on one of the tag, and on the bottom of the tag he put the name of the collection, and then the name and which season it's from, and then the year of the collection. I love this because these are all necessary and important information. Most of the time when a brand only have their logo on the neck tag, they relegate all these necessary information to the wash tag. I personally don't like the font that much, which is mainly because it's you have to squint to really see it because it's a signature. I love the letter R and I love the letter O so much because it really draws you in, so it's like Rick Owens, R-O. I know it's these are all like minute detail, but this whole video is for a fucking neck tag, so we gotta really analyze everything, so I like that a lot. The color of the backdrop, it's eggshell or off-white or a bit gray, which is like the same as like his drawstring, which I love because it really stands out. And another thing I love is that the white sticking throughout the neck tag. I love it, and we'll talk about security later. And so next up, spacing. I love the spacing of these tags. Like Rick Owen and the team really utilize every aspect or every space possible to put in all of these information. Once again, the Montclair backdrop, it's so big, but like they have so little information on there. Rick Owens, it's just a thin line. It tells you way more than you need, way more than a regular consumer need. But for hardcore fans like me, for people that really look deep into this shit, like we really appreciate that, like all of the information. And then they really utilize all of the spaces, which is great. I also think the spacing between the logo, Rick Owens, and the backdrop, it's great. The spacing between essentially the spacing between all of the letterings and all of the backdrop, it's great. And then like the spacing between each word, like, the spacing between the collection name to the season to the year, like I love that so much. It's perfectly spaced out. And obviously with so much information, it's not the cleanest neck tag because like there already are 2 tags and then you get a lot of information and you kind of have to like sacrifice the cleanliness a bit to offer all of this information. And so it kind of cancels out one another. And what else? The stitching throughout makes the tag very secure, so you will never need to like stitch them back in, so that's great. They're never gonna fall apart. Another thing is that this is purely unique to this tag is that I love the fact that it's vertical. Most neck tags are horizontal, and the fact that this Rick Owens neck tag is vertical, it makes it stand out when you go to like retailer like Saks and Nordstrom. When you're just scrolling through like just the neck tag alone, like you can tell it will separate you from the pack. So I think that's something that's really playing well for Rick Owens and the team. I'm making another video in the same series about like information, like amount of information on our neck tag, and why I think Rick Owens is doing something that the whole industry should adopt. So that should come out soon. But let's get back to the Rick Owens neck tag. I think it's a 10 out of 10. You cannot fault anything of it. Okay, so earlier I talked about fast fashion. So let's talk about it real quick. So this is just a quick little segment about fast fashion. So the reason why I say high fashion and fast fashion has like different approach when it comes to neck tag is because high fashion is about continuing the vision, continuing the lifestyle, continuing the brand ethos to like communicate that to the consumer. Whereas fast fashion, it's just about telling you all the necessary information, and they're not bragging about where they're made because obviously it's made in Vietnam, made in Cambodia, made in Bangladesh, made in China. Like, it's not something to be proud of. So it's more information based. Fast fashion is about convenience and affordability. People don't take photos of like Fashion Nova neck tag and then post it on their Instagram to brag about it. At least I hope people don't. Like, come on, it's Fashion Nova. You don't need to brag about that. Come on. And one of the way that fast fashion cut corners to make sure that like their profit is high as possible, their expense as low as possible, is that sometimes instead of making neck tag all together, they just print it on the neck area. So like all of the information, they just print it on. So that will save them a lot of money. But you may think like, okay, I'll save them like 0.2 cents. But if you multiply that by a billion, it's going to be a lot of money. And fast fashion, it's all about cutting all of the corners that they can so they can sell it for the cheapest possible and have their profit as high as possible. And and Fashion Nova knows this, that like they know that their audience isn't someone that's going to take photo of the Fashion Nova tag and then post it on their Instagram. They know their audience. Like, you don't really announce that you're wearing Fashion Nova. It's like when I go to McDonald's, I don't announce that to the world proudly, like, hey, I'm having McDonald's for dinner, shit food, It's just a guilty pleasure type of thing. All right, so let's talk about a few reasons why I think neck tag is very important. So I said it early in the video already, you know, this is going to be one of the first thing that consumer will see. So you have to make sure that it tells the consumer your vision, your lifestyle, and your brand ethos, like the story you're trying to tell. Make sure the neck tag is part of that story. Make sure it furthers the story you're trying to tell. High fashion is about storytelling. That's why every season, whenever they release a fashion show, is a show note to like really give the audience, give the people that's sitting to watch your show, people at home watching the show on YouTube, wherever it is. It's the show note is to help the consumers see your theme, see your references, see everything you're trying to tell people through the clothing. Like one thing for sure is like, once again, when I said to you that like a neck tag, when it looks good, you don't notice it, but when it looks wrong, you will notice. So let's imagine that a really nice Gucci blazer, it has like H&M quality neck tag. Another thing, the third or the fourth point I'm trying to make here is that if your neck tag is well designed enough, it will be Instagram friendly, it will be social media friendly. If you are into fashion, if you follow any influencers, I'm sure you've seen those photos of like people taking photo of the neck tag, people taking photo of like the bags. One of the things that I noticed lately is that the store called Aritzia, like the bag is really good looking. So like people always like take photos and just take photos of the shopping bag. So most influencers, there are influencers I follow, I do it too. Like we just post the neck tag because it looks so good. It cleans the feed a little bit. So I'm making a video about this later, so we'll dive deeper into it. But if your neck tag is good enough, it will provide you with so much free marketing. So my last point is that the business side of the decision making. So I'm always fascinated with like the what, the where, and the when it comes to like a business doing anything. Because if a business is well run, if a business is big enough, $1 million business, $1 billion business, everything has to start at the creative side, and then all of those creative what do you call that? All of those things that the creative team have decided, they have to go through the business side, and the business side has to agree, and then they also have to look at the psychological side. So one of this example is that like sometimes creative side, like they design product that are offensive in certain culture. So let's say, for example, do you guys remember the H&M? I'm pretty sure like the designer do not live in America, so that they don't understand the racism that African American go through. So I think that was probably one of the main reasons why. So all of the creative thing that the creative team makes, it has to go through the business side, and they have to make sure that like whatever they're releasing, it's appropriate and it will not get them bad press. My point is, any decision a company makes, there's a reason, there's a rhyme and reason to it all. So let's look at YouTube ads, for example. You should best believe that they have hundreds of the version of the ads that you saw. So like they have like a lot of those have gone through the chain of command. So like the creative team pass it on to the business side, and then like the business side pick whatever they like the best, and then, you know, everything you see in there, the font, the size, the color, the placement, the amount of letters, everything is considered. And then the photography, like the color grading, the temperature, the brightness, everything is considered. And then the length of the ad is also very important, whether it's 5 seconds, 15, 30, or a minute or two. So everything has to be considered. So with YouTube ads, you have 5 seconds to really entice the audience and not press skip the ad. So the first 5 seconds is very important. So what type of information do you put in the first 5 seconds? Because that's going to need to capture the attention of the consumer. If you don't capture it, they will skip the ad. There are a lot of reasons why a company decides to put out an ad. So, you know, they could be advertising for a new product they're releasing, or they're just bragging about like their great workplace environment because they want to hire more people, or they're bragging about like the longevity of a brand. A lot of car dealerships, they're like, hey man, we've been in business for over 100 years, so you should trust us. And you know, we should. If they've been in business for 100 years, they're definitely doing something right. Otherwise, they'll be out of business. I know this is like a bigger example, but I hope you get the reference that I'm trying to make, or the point I'm trying to make is that the neck tag, everything is considered. The amount of backdrop, the space, the font, the color, the amount of information, like whether they put the size of it, whether they put where it's made, like everything is considered. A shirt has such a small canvas that they're afforded to like really look into the finer details. So it's very important that the neck tag, which is one of the first things that consumers see, that it's like it conveys the tone and the vision that this brand is trying to tell you. To end this video, we're gonna look at a few neck tags and we're gonna talk about it. You know, do feel free to hit me up on Instagram. I actually enjoy talking about this topic a lot, and my partner doesn't really care about this type of stuff, but I just find these sorts of things so fascinating. So, which is why I made this video, because I want to start a conversation on this topic. But it's so good. Okay, so once again, the criteria of which I'm going to use to judge these neck tags, and then I will provide a rating. So the first thing is it's the font, like what type of font it is, and then the second is the color of the font, the color of the backdrop. Third, spacing, like spacing between each word, spacing between each letter, spacing between the logo and the backdrop. Next up is the amount of information, whether they tell you where it's made, the size, the origin, or any other information that you can put up there. Next up is the cleanliness, like some tags look messy, some tags are clean, some tags are in the middle. I will provide you an example with all of them. Next up is security, like how secure are the tags? Like with my Raf Simons, like it's being held up by 2 stitches. With my Bodhi, it's being held up by 4 stitches. With my Prada, it's stitched all throughout. With my Montclair, it's stitched all throughout. So how secure are the tags? And then obviously I will give you my rating, and then let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about fonts together. I'm very excited to talk about this. So the first tag we're gonna look at together is the Raf Simons neck tag. So it's a very simple logo, just as its name. No other information conveyed here. In theory, this will make the neck tag like really aesthetically pleasing photo to post on Instagram, on Twitter, on whatever you use, and like it's a way to show off your taste. Like, hey, like this guy that you follow on Instagram, like he likes Raf Simons, he likes Prada, he likes Margiela, he likes Guidi, whatever it is. The neck tag is very Instagram friendly. Okay, so font. So the font that Raf Simons decided to use is called Helvetica Bold Condensed. So I actually love it. I love the font so much. I love the fact that he chose to do it in all capitalized letters, and the fact that they take up most of the rectangle backdrop. I think that's just great utilization of the space. Okay, next up, spacing. So I love the spacing between each letter and between this first and last name, and just the spacing between the whole logo and the backdrop. Everything is perfect in terms of spacing. And cleanliness, so it's a simple logo. There's no other information other than the name, Raf Simons. Everything else is all under the care tag, so it's actually super clean. In the next video, I have this great segment about Raf Simons neck tag throughout the history since like 1996 or 97, whenever the brand was started, until 2022 right now. The tag you're seeing right now, it's not what it's always been, like it's gone through a lot, so we'll look at the history of it together in the next video. Security. So I don't like the fact that the neck tag is just held up by 2 stitches. I have this Raf Simons sweater, and like the neck tag has already fallen off, and then I have another sweater, and the neck tag is originally there were 2 stitches, now it's just 1. So security wise, it's not the greatest. I would give this like a 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. Alright, so next up, one of my favorite neck tags of all time, possibly my favorite. So Margiela. Alright, so the main neck tag for Margiela is just like a bunch of numbers, 0 to 23, and then there's a circle to each numbers, and each number corresponds to like a line of product, which I will put the photo up right now. You can pause it if you want to read it. Alright, so the original neck tag. The original neck tag is the same exact thing, except without all of the numbers. So it's just plain rectangle neck tag held up by 4 stitches, and the 4 stitches you can see through from the back of the garment. And originally, I'm sure you heard the stories that Margiela wanted all of us to cut it up, but it was like the move by him right there. It really fits into his narrative of going against like establishment, like anti-establishment, and then they got bought by an establishment, and now the establishment is using their anti-establishment as a selling point.
There's a Rick that held a factory hostage after murdering his boss and several co-workers. The factory made cookies, flavored them with lies. He made us all take a look at what we were doing, and in the bargain he got a taste of real freedom. We captured that taste, and we keep giving it to him so he can give it right back to you in every bite of new Simple Rick Freedom Wafer Selects. Come home to the unique flavor of shattering the grand illusion. Come home to Simple Rick.
Anyway, let's keep going. So the font called Gaudy Old Style Bold. It's a beautiful font. I really like it. It's very classy. It just, when I look at it, it makes me feel at peace. The black font on white backdrop, I love it. It's just simple. Just keep doing that. Every brand should adopt that. And I really do love the spacing of the tags, and then all of the numbers are very much like symmetrical to one another, symmetrical to the backdrop. Everything is just so thought out. Everything is just so well designed that like you can't really fault it at all. And as far as the amount of information go, it's simply a tag like with just numbers. There's no size tags, there's no origin, there's no fabric. Everything that you need will be on the wash tag inside the garment. Another thing is that it's incredibly clean. Like, I love this so much. I love this logo. I love this font so much. I just love the neck tag so much. Security. I do appreciate that they use the forced stitching. I really love the fact that they use it as a design. So like each Margiela garment from the outside, you can see the 4 tags. So I think that's really cool. Overall, 10 out of 10, despite minor flaws, like 10 out of 10. All right, so the next tag we're talking about is YSL, or Yves Saint Laurent, or Saint Laurent Paris. This neck tag is actually one of the most popular among like Instagram friendly, or maybe it's just like when I was young, when I was in my hype beast era and sneakerhead era, I always like look up to people that wear YSL because like they were so cool. And then Hedi Slimane was in charge back then, so he provides this cool factor that he's now providing to Celine with the whole like TikTok era now. So Celine right now it caters toward the TikTok scene, which is good for business, but I don't really like their collection that much. Anyway, back to YSL. So the font itself is called Helvetica Noir Bold. So it's one of the more beloved fonts out there. It's very well known, Helvetica and Noir Bold. So it's a good font. They really picked a nice font for it. Hedi Slimane picked that, so it's good. The capital letter is also a good choice. It's bold. It's modern. The black font on white backdrop, it's lovely. It's classic. And I really like the spacing between the words. I really like the spacing between all 3. The word Saint, the word Laurent, the word Paris. Like, it fits perfectly onto the backdrop. They utilize the spacing really well. I really love that. Other than the name itself, the fact that Paris is also part of the name, but it's also Paris is like where their products are designed, where they're based, where they show each collection. So it does give you a bit of information, like the origin of the brand, or where most of the stuff will be made. It's made in Paris, it's made in France. So that's good, a bit of information. It doesn't hurt, it fits well into the name, and it doesn't like take away from the whole logo itself. Like, once again, okay, Montclair, the emblem, the fact that they put the emblem in there, it just fucked up everything else. So I think they should remove the emblem. All right, so cleanliness. So the tag itself is very clean. Once again, it's one of the most popular tags as far as like seeing the neck tags on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok. Like you just see the neck tags everywhere. Security, I actually love it. It stitches all the way around, which is amazing for security reasons. So I would say 9 out of 10. And I do like them a lot. Okay, 9 out of 10, and that's only for the neck tag. For the brand itself, I give it a 0 out of 10 just because of my past experience with them. Like, the quality control is not there, and for the price tag that you can get Saint Laurent, you can get Celine, which is like designing similar products but has like a better quality control. So like if I wanted a bomber jacket, I would look at Celine before I look at Saint Laurent. I'd rather have Celine product right now over Saint Laurent purely because of the quality control. And Hedi Slimane is also provide that cool factor. Alright, so next up we're gonna talk about Jil Sander. So this is actually one of my favorite neck tags. So the font is called Futura #2 D Extra Bold font, and I just love how chunky it is. Like, look at it. It's so chunky. It's so nice. It stands out from everybody else. Like, the Saint Laurent is just very slim lettering, and then you see Jil Sander, it's just so fat, it's so chunky. Like, I love it so much. Black on white backdrop, just classic, can't go wrong. But I do hate the spacing a little bit. I think they could have split the first and last name a bit more because it looked like Jil Sander, not Jil Sander. I think that's the only flaw that I see with this tag. So the spacing between the first name and last name could be better, and I feel like you would all agree with me now that I pointed it out. So Jil Sander is one of the brands that's like known from the niche of minimalism, so they opted out of like showing anything at all. So they elect to put all of those necessary information in the wash tag. So the size, the origin, the material, everything is on the wash tag. So just go inside the garment and then everything will be there. And not all brands should do this because not all brands can be part of the minimalism niche. I think like Moschino, I don't think Moschino should do that because like they're known for being loud and out there. So like just go crazy, put the rainbow on there. That will work. All right, so security. So stitches on the left and the right side, it's good, but it's not the best. Like, not the worst thing, but it could be better. So overall, I would give it an 8 out of 10. All right, so now we're gonna talk about Marni, one of the worst tags in the game. I don't know about you, but I really hate the red font. Like, why a red font? It looks so weird. It looks so stupid. And the font is called Future Bold. And you know, it's red on cream or white or eggshell. And you know, it's a good backdrop. But the font color is not it. The font color is not it. The spacing is also terrible. Like, do I need to say more? Like, just look at it. The spacing of a Marni neck tag, it's so bad. Like, this is an example of not utilizing your space well. Other than that, you know, no information provided. It just says Marni on the neck tag, so everything else will be on the wash tag. This neck tag is just not one of my favorites. And I don't know if I made it clear or not, but it is not clean at all. The red font, the lack of spacing, not lack of spacing. The terrible spacing, nothing works. Nothing works here. The only thing that I love about this tag is that it's a bit more secure. Like, it's like the stitches are on the left side and the right side. That's the only thing I love. So 2 out of 10. All right, so lastly, we're gonna talk about Celine. So I would like to talk about the old Celine and the new Celine. So first, let's talk about the old Celine. So the old Celine neck tag, it was done by a person named Peter Miles, and here's what him and Phoebe had to say about the new font. I really love this font. I love how feminine it is, and at the time Celine was only doing women's wear, so it's very fitting that like their font is also very feminine. So it's black and white backdrop, classic black on white. I mean, the spacing is amazing. I love the spacing. It looks so clean. It looks so minimal. Once again, super feminine, and it fits when they were only doing women's wear. So everything works so well together. You know, with regard to information, it just says Celine. So everything that you want to know, like the size, the origin, the material, everything will be in the wash tag. Super clean. I love it. Security, just 2 stitches, but you know, I don't like it that much. But it's a really minor flaw. So my rating for this is like 10 out of 10 because it's so perfect. I love it. I love everything about it. For the new Celine neck tag, it's Celine without the accent, obviously, and they also added the Paris underneath. So here's what Hedy has to say about that. So the new logo has been directly inspired by the original historical version that existed in the 1960s. The modernist typography used dates from the 1930s. The accent on E has been removed to enable a simplified and more balanced proportion, evoking the Celine collections of the 1960s where the accent was in use often. The spacing between the letters has been balanced out and the letter has been brought closer together. The 1960 version of the logo, including the word Paris, will be reinstated within the clothing and on packaging. However, Paris will not appear beneath the logo on campaigns. Yeah, so originally a lot of people had problem with this because like the accent on the E was such an iconic thing, and it's just like, so now everybody associate the Celine with the accent to Phoebe and the Celine without to Hedy Slimane. And you know, it's not the first time that Hedy Slimane has done something drastic to the logo. You know, when he got to Saint Laurent, he removed the Eves, so it was Yves Saint Laurent and then became Saint Laurent Paris. So now it's just Celine without the accent and then Paris underneath as well. So I think the reason he did that was just like he wants his own house to be his. He doesn't want to continue the legacy of like Phoebe Philo. So you know, now it's like really his house now, which is what most TikTokers believe anyway. I don't think most of them know that Celine had other creative directors other than him, because like Celine right now really caters to the TikTok people. It's insane. Not for me, but you know, TikTok is a big platform right now, so I understand it from a business perspective. But yeah, so spacing. Anyway, spacing. I really like the spacing, you know. It looks right. The spacing is one of those things where like if it's wrong, you can see it. If it's right, you don't see it. So I don't really notice it. So the Paris works well. I like the Celine. I like the fact that it's bold, so it's good. And the amount of information, it's just the name Celine itself, and Paris, which is just like the origin of the brand, or the origin of the brand and where most of their products are made. So everything is made in France, or mostly, probably Spain as well, Italy, maybe Romania for hoodie's sake. Security, it has 2 stitches. I mean, it could be better. Overall, I would give this a 9 out of 10. Alright, yeah, but that's really the end of this video. Like honestly, I could go on and on about neck tag because I just find it so fascinating. Like obviously we could analyze more of like more designer neck tags, but I think there should be plenty. You know, it's already long enough. I might cut a few of them out anyway, so the final product you might not see like all of the neck tags that I analyzed today, so who knows. Anyway, my name is Makasy. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I will see you next week. Bye bye.